Well, good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all. I should say, first of all, introduce myself. My name's Stuart Bloom. I'm the chair of the IBD Registry, and I'd like to welcome you all to the 2016 Registry Symposium on this fairly momentous day for the country and the national referendum. It's actually an important day for the registry too, as we seek to bring you up to date with what's happened in the last year. Before I get going on a few comments, I just want to set the scene. This is the agenda for the morning's talks. It's on your app and also in the printed program. There will be quite a bit of time at the end for a panel discussion, and we encourage you to chip in and ask questions. There are two roving mics on either side of the room, and for those of you who are a bit shy, there's a question card as well on every table if you want to submit a question. This is the Twitter feed, which you'll have seen during the meeting, and this is the only slide that I'm going to be showing, although there are plenty more to come. So as I say, it's an important day for the registry because we wanted to bring you up to date with what's been happening in the last year. It's been a busy year, and what our aims are for the registry over the coming year. I'm just going to take a few minutes to set the scene, really, for the excellent speakers and programme for the morning. So I've got about 3 or 4 aims for the session, which are just set out on this slide. The first is to demonstrate to you how the registry is becoming the vehicle of data collection for audit and quality improvement for IBD in the UK. And Pearl Avery is going to give us a distillation of her experience, and hopefully this will show how at local centres around the country this is already happening. The second aim is to give a clear message as to what we're encouraging you to focus on as areas of data entry over the next year in terms of entering data. We're very aware that everybody in the room is busy seeing patients, and that it takes real commitment to take even a minute or two out of patient interaction, patient contact time to enter this data. But we're convinced of the real benefits of this process. And Fraser Cummins will demonstrate to you an outline of our plans for local reports and benchmarking and how we can feed back to you some of the benefits of these efforts in data collection. A big thing that's happened this year is that HQIP have withdrawn funding for the RCP-run UK IBD audit. This has actually given us a huge opportunity to combine the achievements and energy of those of you who have been entering data on the audit for many years, using the registry web tool as a vehicle to carry on entering in that data. This has actually taken a huge amount of work, both from the Royal College of Physicians team and also the registry team. But we have a plan to provide a comprehensive biologics registry by the end of the year, and to enable you to begin prospectively entering data on all biologics patients going forward. This will result in the largest biologics registry on patients of IBD in the world. And in a moment, I'm going to hand over to Ian Arnott to tell you more about this and to set out in detail the key performance indicators which we will focus on and which will enable us to report data effectively back to you. Now, the registry has always been conceived as a major tool of ongoing research, and because of the structure of the NHS and the availability of national hospital epidemic statistics, it offers an unrivaled opportunity to provide data compared to any other comparable health system in the world. Keith Bodger is going to take some time to begin to show you some of the data we've acquired and the progress we're making. I would say that this is doubly impressive in the current climate because of the difficulties of meeting very demanding data governance and consent issues. And I just want to record a vote of thanks because none of this would have been possible without the efforts of Richard Driscoll, who has just been unbelievably tireless in his efforts, always diplomatic, always quietly effective at just cutting through vast swathes of red tape that leave lesser mortals completely frustrated. Richard, we owe you an enormous debt in this. It's true to say that we do face very considerable challenges for funding over the coming year. The registry's raised very considerable sums from many sources, including private donors and also pharmaceutical collaborators, and the BSG has also made considerable resources available for the project. Future funding will depend on a mixture of commercial funding to provide data on imperatives such as post-marketing surveillance of new biologics and pharmacovigilance, but also very likely a subscription model involving hospital and trust contributions. Now, setting up this type of a national funding model is actually way above my pay grade. In fact, I don't have a pay grade relating to the registry. And we're very grateful to the BSG executive for their leadership in this area. I'd like to record a particular vote of thanks, where is he, to Ian Forjax, our outgoing president, for what is being really unswerving and unstinting support in this area, and to welcome Martin Lombard, who, even though he's a hepatologist and not an IBDologist, is very well aware of the need for the sort of data collection that this initiative and this project will provide. So it's my firm belief that the success and the future security of the registry will be guaranteed by demonstrating within the coming months that we can provide data that's never been previously available, and that this will enable us to show other areas of the specialty, in fact, medicine as a whole, what can be done by a unified, concerted efforts to entering data on chronic diseases. Just before I hand over to Ian, I want to make one more vote of thanks, and that is that this has been very much a team approach focused on the patient. The patient's at the centre of all that we do. Critically, patients have been very involved, and we're also very grateful to David Barker, who's here somewhere in the room, for his efforts on behalf of CCUK, his continued interest and involvement. So now it's time for me to hand over to Ian, Ian Arnott, who's going to start to show you how we believe that the aims of the registry and ongoing audit can be achieved over the coming year. Ian, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Stuart, and thanks for everybody to make time to come today. What I'm going to say today is largely what I said yesterday morning, so I apologize for the repetition, but I think some of these statements are worthy of repeating because we are genuinely at an absolutely critical time in the evolution of the IBD audit into the programme and into the registry. As Stuart said, unfortunately, NHS England no longer think that IBD is a priority area, but they have very kindly given us some transition funding to support the process of moving audit and quality improvement over into the registry collection mechanism. So our aim through this year is to try to continue to deliver quality improvement to the community through an integration with the registry. And I said we were at a critical time, and I think this data that comes from this year's audit just gives a hint of that. You can see that the number of sites that have participated in the biologics audit has steadily increased, and this year we have collected data on almost 3,000 patients. As many of you will know, the biologics audit was a depart from our usual data collection mechanisms where we went to a continuous data collection model, and this has taken time to bed in, but I think, well, I would hope you would agree that it's now showing benefits. Again, as Stuart's already mentioned, these types of data collections may give you hints at clinical effects that you would never get from clinical trials. This showing some equivalent efficacy, short-term efficacy, of biosimilar infliximab. Also, it can give you hints at other suggestions from efficacy. So this slide shows the response according to the time when treatment was started away from diagnosis. And it shows that there does not seem to be any waning of effect until you've started treatment beyond 10 years from diagnosis. So our aim is to develop and sustain a culture of quality improvement within the community by supporting this transition. We are going to also include a series of training workshops, case studies, And one of the things that we've been particularly keen on recently is data visualization. So giving sites instant feedback as to where their performance lies against a median of national activity. The starting place for this is some very basic key performance indicators related to the treatment with biological therapies. And I'm sure you would agree that appropriate screening and then appropriate follow-up is the most basic of these. This is an illustration of one of the methods that we can use to demonstrate people's data, and this would be available in real time when people have entered data onto the registry system. And this is a run chart demonstrating, for example, the days between referral and diagnosis, but these can be adapted to any parameter of data that is collected. Data can also be displayed in a number of different ways, and we would hope that these different demonstrations can be built in subsequent iterations of data visualization. And that's really a very quick and brief overview of how we would hope that things would go on through this year. Hospital teams have already been invited to register across the UK, and I hope many of you will have received communication from us. And it is of note that IBD program and the data collected will remain in quality accounts. In the interim, just until the until the registry system is available, please continue to enter data on the Biologics Audit web tool, and this will remain open for the time being. And we will provide a web tool to import data from the Biologics tool across to the registry, so avoiding double data entry. Thanks very much. We'd be happy to answer any questions later on.